Good evening or good morning, good whatever time it is for you. I am going to be going over the datasets, earnings, and the SPY for February the 19th, 2025. And with that said, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So for datasets today, we have the building permits at 8:30 and the housing starts. I'm not really looking too much to those. Uh, Yeah, I don't really track those too much, but if we do get a spike or some major dip in those numbers, then obviously that could influence the market, but very likely not not going to do a whole lot. We also have the Atlanta GDP data uh, that comes out at 10 a.m. Very likely that's not going to do a whole lot either, but since we don't have a lot of data for the day, it could. So if they get a different number than the forecast reading, so the 2.3%, if that comes in, say 2.4, 2.5%, then obviously the market's going to use that and move off of that. We have the 20-year bond auction coming in at 1 p.m. Very likely the yield on that's going to go upward. The yields have been moving upward lately, and I've explained that thesis in previous videos. So I'm not really going to go over it tonight, as I want tonight's video to be fairly quick. But yeah, expect the yields to come in higher. Expect TLT to drop when the yields or when the auction actually goes through. With that said, let's get straight into the earnings. Now, as I covered in my video yesterday, there isn't very many earnings I'm looking forward to this week. We only have Carvana and what was the other one? Rivian. So Carvana we have tomorrow, Wednesday, uh, in the after hour, and then Rivian Thursday after hour. I won't be playing either, but I might suggest something for Carvana later in the day today or tomorrow. This always confuses me because I make these videos the night before. I'm just gonna say today and pretend it's Wednesday, so that'll make it simple. Now, going over Trump's speech yesterday, he signed some new executive orders and he went over a bunch of different stuff, which I'm not really gonna discuss, but he did bring up the tariffs. He did double down on the April 2nd date for the Mexico and Canadian tariffs, and he also mentioned some statements. Basically, I won't say it word for word because I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but essentially, countries that ease up on their tariffs are going to receive less of tariffs from us. And one of the examples I believe he brought up, if I remember correctly, was the auto sales tax was, or the tariff was at 10%, and it's now brought down to a 2.5%. So some countries are already reacting to this news, and since we're not going to have any tariff data or tariff news really for the next, 2 to 3 weeks. It's very likely the market is going to try to use this opportunity to push upward, even though that this is historically a fairly bearish seasonal time. Usually February and March are weaker months in the year. Now, I'm not saying that President Trump can't bring up any other tariff news, but um, at least we know we have a safety window for the next few weeks, and I think that's important for the market. And a lot of the market participants have really been showing that over the last few days, or the last few sessions anyway. Just a quick reminder before we get into the technical analysis. If you've been finding value in my insights, consider joining my Patreon. For just $12.99 a month, you'll get access to my trades, courses, and powerful tools to help you grow as a trader. I'd love to have you be a part of our team and community. And it's less than 43 cents a day. So if you'd like to join, click in the link in the description. Thanks. And getting into the technical analysis, going over SPY first because I'm going to discuss QQQ a little bit afterward. And as always, we're going to start with the daily. Now, I'm not going to discuss every single moving average. When I say MA, by the way, just in general, if I say MA, that means moving average. That's the levels I've explained up here. multiple times. They're very important, and I'm also making a video series covering how to read those and what those exactly mean if you do not understand what those are. Anyway, going into that, so I'm only going to bring up the upper Bollinger and the 5 Ma in tonight's video because those are the two levels that really matter right now. Since we're so far above the 10 Ma and the 20 Ma, I'm just going to uh, ignore those for this video. If we start pulling down in today's session, then I'll bring those up probably in tonight's video. But for this one, we have the upper Bollinger currently at 611.97, so basically at 612. And what that really means is that the market is essentially touching the level. I mean, over the overnight right now is at 612.09. It's very likely we see the market open very close to that level or at that level. We also have the 5 Ma at 607.92. If Sorry, my daughter's banging on the wall and distracting me. So we have the 5 Ma opening or we have the 5 Ma currently at 607.92, but it's very likely going to open at 609.20-ish, give or take, since the market closed at 611.49. So you have to remember it's going to be between the 5 Ma and where the market closed. Just putting it halfway is going to give us very close to that 609.20 level, plus or minus. So just anticipate that. If we reject here and we head down to the 609 level, then we will be doing what's called a 5 Ma test or a moving average test. And when we do a moving average test, usually you go $2 above and below the level. So for example, if we just make it a flat, even number for a second, say the 5 Ma is at 608. If we were to have a 5 Ma test that same session, it'd be very likely you'd see 606 all the way to 610. So it'd be that $1 or $2 above and below the level. So if we do pull down to the 5 Ma, I'm kind of looking for the market to test the lower bounds of like 607. I have it written down, 607.22, give or take. And then the upper boundaries on today, since we have the upper Bollinger at 611, basically 612, then we can anticipate that very likely it's going to pull the market close to that 614 range, give or take. And that's assuming if we don't reject the upper Bollinger, right? Quickly, while we're in the daily time frame, let's go over the ADL. Now, the ADL, again, is still very strong, even though the last few sessions the volume has been extremely poor. I mean, there was a time today where I think the price moved only like 15 cents in a half-hour span or something like that. So, extremely slow volume, but these slower volume days really like to push, and I believe this is theory, but I believe that's because it allows the dealers to easily sell options in whatever direction they need to. So if there's more buying and more options heading upward, then the dealers can obviously target that area and push that area very easily with little resistance. Um, while we're in the daily chart, I want to show this cup that we formed here. Um, This was a previous cup or a previous cup and then a nested cup or the handle, right? So very likely that's going to see a breakout. But what happens with cups? Uh, they like to build handles. So it's very likely we do come down a little bit and start building a handle if we do not push upward towards that, that 614, 615 range. Which we absolutely can. Usually cup handles like to push above the area a little bit, and I'm just going to show you a couple examples, but one example right there, very likely with QQQ and SPY being right at their upper Bollinger, we're very likely going to see that push upward as well. We have a larger cup on the day as well. Like if you just see a lot of these cups, cup and handle breakout, cup, cup. So so you can tell, I mean, a lot of the top of the cup, the right side, likes to push above the level just a little bit, and we're very likely going to see that here too. But since we temporarily rejected the day two on QQQ's upper Bollinger move, that allows SPY and QQQ to push their upper Bollinger in today's session. If you know the dealers actually push that move, right? Then both QQQ and SPY can push that together. So I'm gonna pull up SPY again in a second, just so you can kind of see. Um, yeah, so this is QQQ, and then SPY. So they can easily push the upper Bollinger day one on both SPY and QQQ tomorrow. And that would make a lot of sense with SPY and QQQ having a lot of the same tech weight. So the expectation should be that we will be pushing the upper Bollinger on both. But like I said, if we do see a rejection, then look towards the 5 mile. You don't have to really stress too much one way or another. It's either we're gonna push into the upper Bollinger or we're gonna start heading back down to the 5 mile and retest that area. Which again, that's gonna be around like the 609-ish, give or take. Now just going to the hourly chart, it's gonna look a little gross for a second, but you just have to bear with me. So we finally broke that cup. So we had this first cup that was kind of rejected and nullified. We have the second cup, and this one finally did work. This one built the liquidity for a handle, and that allowed this break upward. Now, with this being a cup, even though it's a handle, it's also a cup. It's a nested cup, right? So this cup had the breakout, and now it forms a handle. You could say that this is, yeah, I mean, for me, I would say that this is probably the top of the cup right here, and the structure right here is building the handle on this cup. And with that said, with this being a cup, we should also expect and have an anticipation that we will build a small handle on this before pushing upward. So assuming that we do basically open at the levels we're at right now, which again, the overnight's basically at 612. So if we do open up at this level, expect the 612.31-ish, give or take, then drop down, form a handle. A good handle would be around that 1055-ish area, or that 610, 55-ish, the 611 range, give or take. But if that does happen, you have to look out for a couple things. This can turn into a double top if they, and by they I mean the dealers, if they want to make this an inverse cup, right? So if this, let's see. I am actually just going to delete that channel, and we are going to delete the upper consolidation channel. I want the drawing tool. But if they do want to turn this into bearish liquidity, then they are going to use that as an inverse cup, or in a double top, I mean, to pull downward and form the inverse cup right there. I'm not really expecting this. I'm expecting more something like this to pull downward and then to head up to that 614, 615 range. And then from that point, we can start building some bearish liquidity over the next two trading sessions. Tomorrow, if we do get the upper Bollinger move, would be day one of the upper Bollinger mechanics. Assuming that's happening, then Thursday would be day two, which would give us that higher high. So if we don't push fully above that 614, then very likely Thursday we'd be pushing to that 614, potentially even the 615, 616 area. And then we could start looking for some bear structure. So whether that is forming a head and shoulders right here, like that. Yeah, I mean, some sort of bare liquidity, whether it's the inverse cup, the head and shoulders, something to suggest that the day two Bollinger is going to be the top and that we're going to start pulling downward. With that said, though, we have a lot of bullish structure. I mean, like I mentioned, we have this cup. Very likely we're going to build the handle and form a breakout. We have this larger cup right here, and this being a handle for that cup, that already suggests that this is going to break out upward. And then with this being a handle on a larger cup, that suggests that, we're pushing upward right now, and everything has been leaning towards that. I'm from the money flow to just the options in general. I don't know if you guys saw my Weeble post today, but I pulled up the gamma and delta charts and showed there was basically no puts being written at all. And we know puts are being written because the VIX will start moving. The VIX hardly moved today. Um, I mean, VIX was hardly did anything today. It pulled up slightly, and that was essentially it. And pulled back downward. But it just means that it's consolidating, and you can tell within the VIX itself right now, it's just in a downward trend. It's holding that bottom of around 1458, give or take, and just forming a giant wedge downward. Now it will break up eventually, or it will form uh, a breakout pattern eventually, but it's just not there quite yet. Uh, with that said, though, I'm expecting a bullish day today overall. If we don't have a bullish day, then I'm expecting a 5 mile test. One of the two. I don't really anticipate too much more chop. We've been building a ton of bullish structures over the last few weeks now, and I really think it's getting near time to do that upper Bollinger push. And also the final note, we have OPEX on Friday, so if we did have the upper Bollinger move happen, Wednesday being day one, Thursday being day two, and with the day two move, generally we start seeing that pull down and consolidate. So that would fit right in with OPEX. That would allow them to pull it down all the way to the 5 mile and do a 5 mile retest on Friday while being able to basically take a lock onto whatever strike they want to focus on. And I'm assuming it's going to be around the 610 to 612 range, give or take. But we'll see as the time comes. Anyway, I'm gonna end the video here. I hope you all have a great night and a great day today, and trade safe.